Hey everybody, what's up? It's Rob Dodson from the Google Chrome team, and today I want to talk to you about how you can use Bower to install Polymer. If you've never worked with Bower before, this is just a really quick guide to get you up and running super fast and get you comfortable with Bower, comfortable creating your first Polymer element. And it's going to move kind of quickly because I figure, you might be watching this during your lunch break and you just want to see something real fast. It doesn't go too in depth. So the quick and dirty guide, you start off and you go to nodejs.org. If you don't have Node installed, you need to install it. So you click this install button down here, and it's going to download a little installable runner thing that you can execute. So if you're on Windows or Mac or whatever, you can just run the file that it downloads so you can get set up. And what that's going to do is it's going to install Node.js, and it's also going to install this package manager for Node called npm. And Bower itself is a package manager, which is a little weird to think about it. But what we're about to do is we're going to use a package manager to install a package manager. I know, like super meta. But Bower is a package manager for the web. It's for downloading things like jQuery and Twitter Bootstrap. npm, which is Node's package manager, is for downloading like server modules and things like that. But it's actually it works well for downloading things that you might run on the command line as well, and Bower happens to be one of those sorts of things. So if you've got Node installed, what you can just do is you can, if this is your first time doing this, you'll probably have to run like sudo npm install -g bower, something like that. You need to type in your password. So that's going to download all of this sweet stuff. What it's actually doing is it's going out and it's fetching Bower from the npm registry and installing it on my machine. And when I pass this G flag right here, -G, what that did was it said, hey, when you install Bower, just make it like globally available to the system. So I can actually now just type Bower-V, and it'll run Bower and it'll tell me the version number of Bower. And I can close that terminal window and start a totally new terminal session, go back to my desktop, make the font a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on there. And again, just run Bower-V. I'm just like on my desktop right now. And again, it works. So anywhere I am in my system, I can use Bower now, which is pretty great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new folder on my desktop. Oh, it helps if I give it a name. So I'm going to name it, my project. Hop into my project. And all right, so what I want to do now is I want to install Polymer inside of my project. And the way that Bower works is it creates a little JSON file, and inside of that JSON file you can list all of the things that you have installed inside of your project. And the value in this is, let's say you install like 50 things into your project, and to relate this to some of the stuff that you might be working on right now, let's say that you're working on like a project that uses jQuery, it uses a few jQuery plugins, maybe it uses Bootstrap as well. So you've got all of Bootstrap's dependencies. Let's say that you've got, I'm trying to think of like other things that you might have in there. Maybe like Modernizer or something like that, right? So there's a lot of dependencies that you could have inside of your project. And if you don't use Bower, what you have to do is you have to go out and you have to manually download every single one of those, and you put them in a folder. And if you want to share your project, then you've either got to zip the entire thing up and send it to someone, or you have to say to the other developer or whoever you're sharing it to, okay, well, here is the project, and if you want to use it, you need to go download jQuery and Bootstrap and Modernizer, and you need to put them all in this folder and make sure this folder is named a particular way or things won't work. So the way that Bower does this differently is it creates a JSON file, and inside that JSON file you list all your dependencies, and then anytime anyone gets your project, they just run the Bower install command, command. That looks at the JSON file, it looks at everything that's inside of there, and it just pulls those things down for you. So it's really, really helpful. And to create that file, we're going to run another command called Bower init. So we're inside of my project right now. We're going to run Bower init. and that's going to ask us some questions to help us build that JSON file. So it's going to ask us our project's name, version number, a description, an awesome project. You can write whatever you want. The main file, right now we don't have one. If we were, creating a JavaScript library, it would be like foo.js, but I don't really have one right now, so I'll just hit enter. I'm not exporting any sort of modules. I'm not creating like a AMD library or anything, so I can hit enter, and that'll actually skip this section. Keywords. So Bower actually has this really cool registry where you can register your package so anyone can install it. And keywords is a way that people can search for packages. So we'll say Polymer as one of our keywords, and maybe web components with a little dash in there. Author, yep. License, homepage, of course, robdodson.me. It's going to ask us if we should set any currently installed components as dependencies. We don't have any, so we'll just hit enter. It wants to know if it can ignore common files. So this is things like .ds_store, like those random files that always end up getting checked into GitHub, and then you're like, oh crap, and then you gotta like do a commit to remove them. So this is just going to go ahead and ignore those for us, which is cool. It ignores them for Bower's sake. It doesn't ignore them for git ignore. But if someone tries to install our project later using Bower, it won't pull down those files. And then it's going to ask us if we want to make this thing private. We're going to just hit enter, which is going to say no. And I think that looks good. So if we open up our project and we can see what happened, it created this Bower JSON right here. Inside of there, we've got all that information that we filled, like our project name and the version number and things like that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to install Polymer. So we're going to do Bower install Polymer. And what this would normally do is Bower would go out and it would fetch Polymer from its registry, and it would drop it into my project. But I want to tell it to actually write a line inside of my Bower JSON file here that makes sure that other people can install Polymer if they're using my project as well. So I'm going to say Bower install Polymer. I'm going to pass it this save flag. And you'll see what that's going to do. That's going to go out and it's going to fetch Polymer. And then it adds this little dependencies object right here to my project. And it also created this Bower components folder right here. And inside of this Bower components folder, we see we've got Polymer. And then we've also got this other thing here called platform. So platform is another part of Polymer. And what Bower has done is when it installed Polymer, it went and it looked to see if Polymer had a Bower JSON file, which it does. And inside of there, it lists its dependencies as platform. And it tells Bower where it can find platform. So then Bower is like, oh, cool, I need to go get that thing as well. So it pulls down platform as well, which is really helpful. And just to show you how the Bower JSON works, I'm going to delete this folder, this Bower components folder where it's keeping all of my stuff. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so it's gone. But I still have my dependencies listed here inside of this thing. So it still knows that I want Polymer. So let's say I just shared my project with someone, right? And I didn't bundle up all my dependencies, but the Bower JSON file is there. So what they can do is they can open up my project and just type Bower install. And Bower's going to look for that dependencies object right here. And it's going to be like, oh, yo, you need Polymer? I know about Polymer. I'm going to go get some Polymer. So it goes and it finds Polymer. And again, it looks inside of Polymer's Bower JSON and it finds platform. So it gets platform as well. And this is really great because you can go, totally crazy with this. You could install like any sort of jQuery plugin that you can think about through the Bower registry, and it's going to go and like pull down jQuery, or you could install anything that has any dependency really, and so long as the dependencies are listed, it'll go down and fetch them for you and get them into your project. So as an example, you could be like Bower search jQuery-backstretch, which is a jQuery plugin. Bower search lets you search through the registry of things that are in the Bower database. So here it says that jQuery backstretch is part of the registry. So I can just say Bower install save jQuery-backstretch, and that's going to go fetch this jQuery plugin, and it's going to go because that jQuery plugin lists jQuery as one of its dependencies, it's going to go and pull down that as well. So it updated my Bower JSON file. Now I have jQuery backstretch in here. And in my Bower components folder, I've got jQuery backstretch and I've got jQuery, which is really rad. That's all very helpful. But for the rest of this example, I don't need jQuery backstretch. I don't need jQuery either. I'm just going to show you really quickly, now that we've installed Polymer, how we can use it. So let's create an index HTML file so we can actually test out creating our first Polymer element. So I'm going to make an index HTML. And through the power of snippets, I'm going to fill it with content. Okay, so we've got Polymer here, and we've got its dependency platform. And the first thing we have to do is we have to load the platform. And that platform layer is a layer of polyfills, which takes all the various browsers out there, all the modern browsers out there, so like IE10 and above, Safari 6 and above, mobile Safari, etc. And it jumps them into the future where web components are supported, and hover cars are a thing, and it's a really wonderful world. So we've got a script tag here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna load in Bower components /platform/platform.js. So with this one line of code, I've added web components support to any browser that wants to bust open my project. So I just made things way more awesomer for the entire internet. And one of the technologies that web components added for me was HTML imports. So HTML imports, you could almost think of them as like a superscript tag, but they can also load CSS, and they can load, as the name implies, HTML. So they can load all sorts of things. So they're just this like super amazing way that you can load external resources into your document or into your application. And what we're going to do is we're going to use one of these new import tags, and you use the link tag to create an HTML import, and that's the same way that you load CSS, but the major difference is that you set the rel type from style sheet to import. And we're going to set the href to Bower components /polymer/polymer.html. And if this doesn't make a ton of sense to you, it's totally cool. Like, just know that these two lines are sort of like the boilerplate that you gotta have inside of your app to get rolling with Polymer and web components in general. But once you start using these and you start to learn about the underlying technologies, then things will fall into place, and you'll be like, oh, cool, I see how all these things work and how link tags are like the most amazing thing ever. But if you don't see that just yet, that's cool. Don't feel bad or like you're not getting it or anything. It's a lot to take in. So we've got these two lines here, and we're ready to start creating our first Polymer element. And I'm just going to make a really simple element here just so you can see that everything's working. And after that, I'll leave you guys to go create amazing things. And so the way we're going to do this is we're gonna start with this Polymer element tag, and we're going to set the name equal to whatever our new tag name is going to be. And I'm going to close this tag so the linter will stop complaining. But so we've got Polymer element name equals whatever we want our tag name to be. I always call things x-foo when I'm like just hacking around. So we've got an element whose name is x-foo. We're not going to add any JavaScript to this element right now, so I'm just going to use this noScript attribute, and that's going to tell Polymer, hey, don't wait around for me to add any JavaScript to this thing. Just go ahead and register. So again, this is one of those things, if you don't quite understand it right now, it's okay. Just know that this is sort of a rule. If you're not including JavaScript in your element, just throw this noScript attribute on there. Next thing we got to do is we got to create a template, which I wish Sublime would add autocomplete for. I always type template and hit tab, and then nothing happens. So we add a template, and inside of our template, we create an h1, and we're going to say hello from xfoo. Hello. And all right, so this is it. This is like a super simple element. So we're going to say x-foo, x-foo. So what have I done here, right? I've used the Polymer element tag to declaratively register a new tag in the document called x-foo. X-foo has a template, and what this whole registration process does is it tells the browser, hey, when the parser sees someone using an x-foo tag, grab that template, take the contents inside of it, and basically render it where you see that tag. And the way it does that is it puts it inside of the shadow DOM for that tag. And the shadow DOM is it's a little encapsulated bubble that makes sure that the markup, this markup that's inside of this template, is protected and safe, and is not going to bump into external JavaScript or any external styles. And I'll show that a little bit more in a sec. But for now, let's just get this guy to show up on our screen. So inside of my project, we're back inside of the terminal. And there's a few ways to do this, but basically what we need to do is we just need to start a local server. If you use Node, I mean, at this point you've got Node installed because you used Bower and everything. You can just do npm install -g serve if you don't have a way of starting a local server. And this will install a little module for you called serve, and then inside of your project you can just say serve. You can just type the serve command and it'll start a server for you on port 3000. That's really handy. I use this all the time. You know, if you use like Apache or whatever, you could point Apache at this project and set up like a vhost for it or something like that if you wanted to do that. If you're on a Mac and you have, well, if you're on a Mac, you have Python installed because it comes pre-installed. So you could say python-m simple HTTP server. This is just like a handy trick for Mac users in general. And now you have a little Python server that's on port 8000. So that's running inside of my project. So we're going to use this Python server, and we're going to bust open the browser. And we're going to go to localhost 8000. Boom. And we're not going to see nothing. What did we do wrong? Oh, man. Okay, hold on. This is where the screencast went totally sideways. The first thing we're going to do, the first thing that you do in any good emergency is you open the console. And you look inside the console, and it's empty. So then you don't panic. Definitely don't panic. All right, let's debug this together. All right, so we got our script. We're loading platform.js. We got our link tag here. We're importing Bower components, polymer.html. That looks right. Got our Polymer element. Name is xfoo. No script, so there's no JavaScript. Got a template, h1. We're using our tag. Oh, do we need to hit save? Is it really that simple? We just needed to hit save. I'm sorry. I've been drinking. All right, so we've got our tag here. So all of this that we've got here, it's working. It's showing up in the browser, right? You can see it right here. We can inspect it. And right now I'm just in regular stable Chrome. I'm in the current version of Chrome, which is 34, I believe, or 33. Sorry. So I'm in Chrome 33. And right now I just see xfoo, I see the tag there, and I see this h1, and the h1's just sort of nested inside of there. If I switch over to Chrome Canary, which has like full-blown, really awesome support for Shadow DOM, and I inspect xfoo, I'll actually see this like cool shadow root thing right here, which tells me that h1 inside of my template is tucked away inside of the Shadow DOM. Which is so cool. Like, how cool is this? Okay, anyway, moving on. All right, what I want to do here is I've got an element, it works, and it's decidedly cool. We've established that. But I want to show you one cool feature. I want to show you style encapsulation. Style encapsulation is like the dopest thing ever. So inside of my template, I'm going to put a style tag, and I'm going to say, hey, I think h1s should be orange. So Polymer element name xfoo, h1s, they be orange. And I go back to my browser. It doesn't matter if it's Chrome or Canary, either, or stable Chrome or Chrome Canary. And my H1 tag is now orange, right? So the styles are now orange. And the way this works is Polymer is doing very clever things with CSS selectors in browsers that do not have support for native Shadow DOM. But in browsers that do have support for native Shadow DOM, that style is actually completely scoped. Here we go. Where is it? That style is actually completely scoped to this shadow root right here, which is really rad. But I want to show you, I want to prove to you that these styles are encapsulated. So nowhere in this document that you have seen so far have we created any sort of style sheet, right? And what I'm going to, except for the one that we did right here inside of our element, sorry, but there's no external style sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an H1, and this guy is going to be like, yo, this is not a custom element. Bummer. Go back to Canary. Okay, we would expect this, right? So these styles are protected in the Shadow DOM, and these are not. We'll go to Stable Chrome. Refresh. Wait for it. Wow, is my is Chrome like messing with me? There we go. All right, Python's messing with me. Boom. That's a very delayed boom. That's more of like a thud. All right. We see here that our H1, this H1 right here, is using the browser default colors, whereas this one is orange. So we've actually still protected our styles from the parent document. We haven't affected the parent document. We're not leaking out onto the page. If inside of the parent document we make a style tag and we say, yo, H1s, screw that orange jam. It's all about red. We go back to Chrome and... nope, you didn't get xfoo. Xfoo is still orange. Even if we like move it to a different place, what? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's down here. Nope, you're not gonna get it. You're so not gonna get it. Xfoo, safe, totally safe. So this is cool. This means that when you make a custom element, when you're using the Shadow DOM, or in the case of browsers that don't have native support for it, when you're using the Shadow DOM polyfill, you're still protected. Your styles inside of your custom elements are still protected, and that's super rad. It means that you can take this xfoo tag that we've created, and you can drop that into any project that uses Polymer or uses web components, and that tag is just going to render as you intend it to, and it's not going to affect the parent document. And that's super awesome. So with that, I'll leave you guys to it. Go out there, make awesome things, install things with Bower, go totally crazy. Definitely, if you like the screencast, leave a comment or hit me up on my blog or hit me up on the Twitters and give me a thumbs up. And thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great weekend.